Many indicators, including the Gender Equality Index of the European Institute for Gender Equality, indicate that substantial differences between men and women still persist in Europe. Moreover, improvements have been slowing down over the last decade. Over the last couple of years, the political and economic developments also seem to have interacted with the so-called mega trends, for instance, aging and labor shortages, or digitalization and telework. This created new challenges in the workplace that will require close attention. In this context, closing gender gaps can offer significant margins of action to smooth this transition, since greater gender equality should have positive effects on women's labor force participation and employment rates. Gender equality is a multidimensional issue, which affects, among other things, women's participation in the labor market and their outcomes in terms of jobs and employment. On the labor market, social partners and policymakers are key actors of industrial relations, which shape how European labor market function. Therefore, these actors can have an important impact on gender equality through the labor market, using collective agreements and social dialogue. To better understand this association, the VIRAGE project proposes 4 empirical analyses of industrial relation and gender equality. The first one is a qualitative analysis of cross-sectoral and sectoral social dialogue at EU level. The other 3 are quantitative and exploit data comparable across member states. These 4 studies indicate that industrial relation with strong social partners, collective bargaining and social dialogue are associated with lower gender gaps, in particular in terms of wages. National institutional frameworks share some similarities, but can also be very heterogeneous regarding specific aspects. On the one hand, the 4 countries have well-developed legislation regarding gender equality, usually consisting of a set of laws which prohibit and punish discrimination. On the other hand, councils and institutes promoting gender equality, and which sometimes include social partners, can only be found in Belgium or Sweden. These 2 countries are also the only one applying gender mainstreaming principles, at least at some level of governance. Generally speaking, social partners in all countries tend to give higher priorities to issues related to pay and work-life balance, which are 2 areas that they can potentially influence the most through collective agreements. There are some country specificities, such as Italy, where some interest is given to occupational segregation in order to increase women's participation to the labor market. Most social partners acknowledge the multidimensional nature of gender inequalities and the links between different issues, for instance, part-time work, the pay gap, and work-life balance. However, these interconnections are hard to account for in practice. Overall, and keeping in mind the small number of observations, it seems that countries with well-developed industrial relation institutions, giving space for social dialogue, tend to attach more importance to gender-related issues. Based on different approaches and methods, the VIRAGE project provides additional evidence that social partners and social dialogue can be important levers to action in order to progress towards gender equality. Despite substantial positive effects, industrial relation and social dialogue can only be part of the solution, and policy out of the social partner scopes should also be implemented. Policymakers and social partners should introduce or continue to promote gender mainstreaming. Increasing the representation of women among social partners' executive bodies can only reinforce the consideration given to gender equality issues. Council or institutes promoting and working on gender equality can be important to raise public awareness and produce guidelines or recommendations to help stakeholders tackle specific gender issues. These councils or institutes can be bipartite or tripartite, and as such can contribute to foster social dialogue. In general, the results of the VIRAGE project would lead to support any initiatives promoting and reinforcing social dialogue, such as the current initiative by the European Commission to strengthen social dialogue.